I'd like to talk about moving today. Moving is a big part of our lives and a part that can introduce a lot of stress, a lot of sadness, a lot of powerful emotions, even if we're really looking forward to the move. The Grief Recovery Handbook has this idea around how to deal with moving, not the logistics of packing and all of those things, really about the emotional side of it. And this is something my family members and I have done, and I've shared with multiple people. So here goes. The idea, as I would put it, is that there's a lot of memories and a lot of emotion tied up in places where we spend a lot of time. It could be our home. It could be a city that we're leaving. It could be a workplace where we've spent a lot of time. It could be a school, whether it's an elementary school, whether it's a college, or anything in between that you are leaving for whatever reason. And so here's an idea. Let's say it's your home and you're getting ready to move. You have some children. So set aside a solid amount of time, maybe a good hour or two, depending on the size of the house. And as a family, or as an individual, as a couple, whatever's applicable, walk around to each room and explore what is the happiest experience in that room, and even what is the most the opposite of happiest, maybe the saddest, the most painful, the most emotionally charged experience in that room, and discuss that, or just bring it up. You don't need to relitigate any arguments or anything like that. So for an example, I just left a place of work. And so I walked around on one of my last days there to all of the classrooms. It was at a university where I was an administrator, and I looked into the window. I could have gone into the room. Maybe that would have been better, but it was fine. I looked into the room and I remembered what happened in this room. What was an interaction, an experience, a time when I was really touched, that was really positive. And then sometimes there would be something negative. Now, there weren't a lot of negatives, but there was, in one place, there was one that was quite negative. And I just remembered what I felt. I felt misunderstood. I felt unfairly dealt with. I felt that whatever response was excessive and unnecessary, and all of those things. I didn't go into a lot of detail, but it was enough to kind of remind my heart of what I felt. And then, after you have done that for one room in your house, say thank you and goodbye. Both things, thank you. You're saying thank you to the room and goodbye to the room. And then move on to a different space until you've done all of the spaces. Some of those might be in the backyard. Some of them might be in the driveway. One of my daughters was getting ready to leave home to go to college. And so we did this. It wasn't super formal. It wasn't super formalized the way we did it, but we just spent a little bit of time doing it. And it was funny because we said, okay, what's your memory of the stairs? And that was fun because it reminded us of some funny thing. I don't think there was anything negative about the stairs. Maybe it was moving and carrying heavy things, but I don't remember if there was one. And then we said, well, what about the driveway? And at that time, we lived in a house that had a pretty long, sloping driveway. And my daughters needed to take the garbage cans out to the curb. I usually did that, but they needed to that day. And so their memory was the garbage truck was coming and they needed the garbage to get, emptied. They didn't want to wait a week. And so they're running down the driveway, dragging these big garbage cans that are rolling behind them, trying not to get run over by them. And so it was just a fun little memory. And so it can be really valuable, a nice experience to kind of close the door in a way. You're not forgetting, but the emotional oomph, the emotional impact of that move can be lessened. And you can move into a new environment with a clean slate in a lot of ways. So I'm a big fan of this method, of this approach, and I've invited my children to do it when they have been far away for like mission work for a couple of years, and they're finally finished and coming home. And just remember, what did you experience in all these different places? In that case, they had to do it really mentally because they couldn't physically go to these different places. It was really a lovely experience. So my invitation is to try it out.